Hey guys, I'm back in live. I got asked to, well, see if I could figure out how to warp stuff. So I did some research and I've given it a go. And I don't know, it's it's weird how it can just like do what it does. It works pretty good actually. Um, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. That's for sure. So yeah, this is just going to be a quick video on a beginner's guide to basic warping by a beginner. So hopefully it's not too shit and you can follow it and it makes sense and it progresses on to other things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp this track that I've got here to change the tempo of it from 123 to 128. Yeah. So the first thing you want to do, I actually had some trouble with this. I couldn't figure out why it was doing it, but when you throw in a track into Ableton, like a full length track, it kind of tracks off a bit because Ableton tries to do you a favor by warping it for you, but it doesn't quite work out. So we want to go to our preferences and we want to go to warp and we want to turn off, where is it? Auto warp long samples. We want to turn that off. So the track will get thrown in and it will just analyze its waveform and it won't do anything else. So that's the first thing that we want to do. And now the second thing is we come into our warping window down the bottom here, well, our audio window, and as you can see, the warp light it's switched off. If you don't turn that function off, and you open up and you come into here, your warp light would be on, and you would see a bunch of transient markers and stuff like that, and your track will be a little bit weird. So yeah, so make sure you switch that one off. We zoom into the track. We want to set. Okay, this one's already done it. I must have already done it. Okay, we want to set the start of our track. So the start of the file. When you load in a track to Ableton for warping, it's going to warp from the start of the file, which is basically where that little triangle arrow thing is there. So that's going to see it as the start of the file, start of the track. Now the start of our track is actually here. So we take this little marker and we click on that. No, I'll zoom in a bit more. That's as far as that'll go. So we grab that and we click and we can drag it across to the start of our track, which will be there. Once we do that, we'll right click on that and we go set 1.1.1 here. And now that is the beginning of our track. So if I play that, alright, so that's 123, metronome, click, awesome, start of the track. So that's where we want it. From there, now you can see that the warp light's on, so it's pretty much armed to warp. From there, we then right click again on that little arrow and we go warp from here straight. Now, the track is pretty much warped, or ready for warp. So as you can see, we've got a little little grey arrows there, they're our transient markers. And you can see the little ticks sort of at the kicks. You know, if we go through the rest of the track and zoom in, it starts to track off a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our segment tempo here, and we're going to put it back to 123. And it's moved them back, so that should sound better. Alright. One thing in Ableton, when you are warping, I'm going to see if it's done it. It's usually pretty good in the beginning of the track. This was a bit of a strange one for me. I've not seen that before. I've warped a couple of things to make sure that I've done it right. But yeah, I've not seen it do that before. But once you get towards the end of the track, it usually starts to track off a little bit. So as we can see, that kick is probably a little bit early. So if we play it from here, it's actually not too bad. Which is a bit weird because I thought I was going to have to do a bit more. There. So it's off a little tiny little bit. So alright, well, I'm going to show you this anyway because I was planning to do this. But yeah, so when you're warping and the track sort of tracks off a little bit, you get, you know, these transient markers and stuff. Rather than setting up a warp marker by just double clicking, we don't need to do that. So we can get these transient markers, and if I hold down Shift and then click, I can actually drag that to the beginning of my kick, and then let go of Shift and move that to the new bar. So that kick, yeah, is, I mean, it was off by a tiny little bit. Like it was kind of noticeable, but yeah, not much. So you go through your track, you check out all that, check out the end, go around the middle as well. And what I want you to do is dance on this. Yeah, it's all pretty good. Alright, so that track is now warped. It's warped at its original tempo of 123. What we're going to do now is we're going to go down to this section here where we've got beats and transient. We want to click on transient, and we're going to turn that to, I guess, any one of these. When you're, I mean, I don't know exactly how this algorithm works or whatever, but in my research, they've not preserved the transients. I think in certain cases it does something a bit weird. I've not really experienced anything yet, but everyone seems to say, you know, not to preserve the transients whilst importing long tracks. So considering that I'm a beginner and the people that I've been listening to are better than me, I'm going to tend to listen to them. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to hit the save button. So that track's warping data is now saved. And you'll have the analysis file for that track there. So if you delete this analysis file, then all your warping is basically gone. And you'll have to start all over again. So don't get rid of that. Now from here, to change that tempo, I just go to my master tempo. I can type in 128. And in theory, it should be warped. So that's pretty much bang on at 128. If I go 130,
let's go.
If I go to 120,
let's go.
Awesome. Back to 128. And that, my friends, is how I've figured out how to warp tracks. Every track's a little bit sort of, I don't know, it's a little bit different, I suppose. Some of the kicks are going to be different, so the transients and where they start might be a little bit tricky, but usually the kick is a pretty easy one to line up. This is actually one of my tracks, so I kind of cheated a little bit. Like, I knew the tempo of this already, so I figured I'd throw that one in and do the video on this. So hopefully that's made a bit of sense, and it's been able to help you guys with warping. It's not as scary as I thought it would be. When you go into it blind, you know, it's a new feature and you kind of can't figure out what's going on, but it did just seem super, super simple to do. So now that I know that, I'm going to tackle my next adventure with Ableton, I suppose. I'm actually enjoying it. Wouldn't say I'm ready to make the switch from Logic to Ableton, but I'm having a lot of fun learning new stuff. So yeah, if you're new to, well, if you're thinking about giving Ableton a go, or any other DAW for that matter, just do it. Like, don't be scared of it. Just jump straight into it. Get a demo, get whatever, and just jump into it. Have some fun, and learn some new tricks and some new skills along the way. So hopefully that's helped, and I will check you later for another video. All right, guys.